Ladies and gentlemen, oh my goodness, what a glorious day to be on the internet. This story has been a long time coming, boys, let me tell you. In fact, I first covered this particular person in question all the way back in, like, God knows how long. I don't even remember how long ago this was. But today we're going to be talking about this particular IRL live streamer known simply as Johnny Somali, which, if you've been living under a rock for the past 3 years, is probably now infamously known as one of the most despicable, disgusting, and most hated live streamers that the internet has ever birthed out of its seeping asshole. I covered a story way back when he first came out and he was in Japan doing all of these IRL streams, making an entire nuisance out of a bunch of Japanese people in the train, you know, going up to random people and shouting Hiroshima at their faces like they personally had anything to do with it. And, you know, just very casually breaking a couple of laws, you know, as live streamers tend to do nowadays, apparently. And so he fled Japan, and his next location of carnage was the country right next door to us, South Korea, where he went on to do pretty much the most despicable things imaginable that you can do in front of a live audience. But the biggest difference between the South Koreans and the Japanese is that the South Koreans don't take shit from people like this. Which brings us to April 2026. The day that I am recording this video, we have an article from Dexterito which just put a grin on my face so much, and I'm sure it did for a lot of people on the internet. But, I'm sorry, the title is cut off a little bit there with my ugly mug. But it says here, Johnny Somali found guilty of all charges as South Korea sentences streamer to prison with labor. W South Korea, we love you. So you're probably asking the question, what exactly did he do? How did he end up in the spot? What caused this ugly mug to get locked behind bars? Johnny Somali has been sentenced to prison with labor in South Korea, putting an end to the streamer's legal saga in the country that garnered international media attention. On April the 14th, a judge in South Korea sentenced Johnny Somali, capping off one of the most documented influencer trials to date. In his penultimate court appearance, Somali upset the judge by claiming the law was unfair because another Korean streamer, Bong Bong, shared the same deepfake videos he had and wasn't facing consequences for it. The prosecution, meanwhile, recommended 3 years in prison with hard labor for the American, causing Somali's mother to file a petition asking for leniency. Dog, if I was the mother, or I guess father in this case, of this child, I would just be like, you know what? He was completely out of control. We couldn't do anything about it. Just give him a lesson. Put him behind bars for a second so that he'll never do this kind of shit ever again and disappoint the family lineage. So what exactly did he do? Well, in 2024, after arrests during trips to Japan and Israel, I didn't even know about the whole Israel saga, Johnny Somali headed to South Korea as the next stop in his streaming career. Career is a very strong word. Much like his previous visits abroad, the American quickly sparked outrage. In Korea, he drew backlash after dancing inappropriately with the Statue of Peace, a memorial honoring victims of sexual slavery by Japanese forces during World War II. And as we can see here, because he is the world's biggest moron, he documented the entire thing. He put all of his crimes onto camera for his 2 IQ audience to see and laugh at, and not understanding the very important significance and historical ideology that something like this, you know, is there for. I don't know what the hell he's doing in this picture, but in this picture, he is kissing the statue. Like, bro, what are you trying to do at this point? This caused massive controversy, with even the country's parliament taking notice. Korean residents and fellow streamers then proceeded to take out their anger on Somali by hunting him down, even placing a bounty on his whereabouts. And yeah, there have been multiple stories, as Dexterito has all here, there's fantastic footage of just, you know, this absolute cunt, I don't even want to say his name out loud anymore, just, you know, walking around Korea thinking that he got away with it all, and only for a random Korean bystander, a random Korean hero, to come up behind him and just Give him a 1-2 in the back of the head, as he fucking deserves. In one viral incident, a former Korean Navy SEAL turned YouTuber KO'd Somali, and later had his legal fines paid by content creator donut operator. Okay, I knew about like the KO story, as I just mentioned, but I didn't know he had his legal fines paid by another content creator. That's absolutely fucking based. Somali was later arrested following a string of incidents, including causing disturbances inside a 7-Eleven, disrupting a bus, blasting North Korean propaganda, and more. He was really doing the cancellation speedrun. During his first court appearance, the streamer notoriously showed up late, hungover, and wearing a MAGA hat. Like, I physically cannot wrap my brain around how someone can be this fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Like, he obviously was doing it to get attention because he is obviously an incredibly clout-hungry individual who will do anything to get any sort of attention because he probably didn't have any friends growing up or, you know, didn't have a parent figure in his life. There is no fucking way that someone will do this if it wasn't for attention. I mean, the whole reason why he started his streaming career is to get attention, and you know what? You might be saying to yourself in the comments right now, well, Joey, aren't you giving him attention right now? Isn't that the whole point of this video? Well, yes, but, you know, thankfully, this will actually be the last time I ever talk about him. And that's also a big reason why, in my original video, for example, where I brought up this whole case, I never mentioned his name. And also, throughout all of the controversies that he was doing, throughout all of the countries that he was visiting, and I guess terrorizing, I didn't make any videos about him. I didn't pull up his stint that he did in Israel. I didn't pull up the fact that he got arrested in Japan. I didn't pull up all of the shit that he was covering in Korea because I didn't want to give the fucker any more attention. But today is different because this is the last time I'll be talking about this bastard because he's officially going to go to jail now. What a glorious day. As the trial progressed, Somali pleaded guilty to numerous charges, including multiple obstruction of business charges and 2 counts of violating the Minor Offences Act. I don't even want to know what the hell he did to set that alarm off, but alright. However, he maintained he was not guilty of the deepfake charges, as they came with the most severe penalties. See, I don't even know the whole deepfake controversy because, again, I wasn't keeping up with everything. You know, I actually have a job. I'm not as unemployed as some of you might think I am, and I had better things to do. I had bigger fish to fry in my life. So, you know, I obviously knew this guy was up to no good, and I knew eventually karma was going to come back around and bite him in the ass, and it turns out I was right. Apologizing for his actions, Somali said, "I did some foolish things under the influence of alcohol, and I realized the consequences. I sincerely apologize for this." Yeah, alright, bro. Having been born and raised in the United States, I did not realize how serious the consequences of these actions, which would not be illegal in the United States, could be in Korea. Yeah, dude, that's the whole point why you just shouldn't do it at all. If you don't understand that there are cultural differences, there are jurisdictional differences in those different countries. Some things that you do in the US, yes, are not as offensive in Korea or vice versa, but that's why you have to educate yourself on those differences. I know educating is a very difficult thing for you to do, Johnny, but it's very important, especially if you're going to be interacting with cultures outside of your own. Also, blaming it on the whole, like, alcohol thing is just the biggest cope, dude. Like, there are lots of people who drink alcohol, okay? But there are very, very few people who will do the dumb shit that you did. Like, using alcohol as a scapegoat for all of the dumb shit that you did is the equivalent of, like, all the people who blamed violence in real life because too many people play GTA. Like, the product doesn't cause the consequence. Because if that was the case, then every single person who is under the influence of alcohol in Korea, which is, by the way, a very large proportion of people, because there are a lot of people who know how to drink in South Korea, trust me, I know, then you would see everybody in the fucking country doing this, but they don't. You know why? Because it's not the alcohol, it is the mixture of the substance with your dumbass brain. And I love how finally, after all of this, you know, after it's actually been confirmed that he's going to go to jail with labor, which is just the cherry on top of the cake, that he's finally, like, apologizing for all of this. Like, bro, you literally came into the first hearing late, hungover, wearing a MAGA hat. Like, where was the apology then, bro? And I'm not gonna show it or bring it up, but if you actually look it up online, there are plenty of clips of this, like, whole procession happening in South Korea where he's straight up just, like, cursing out the judge. Like, he just does not give two rats' asses about whether he goes to jail or not until it is confirmed that he's going to jail. Like, I think he legitimately thought he was going to get away with it all because in reality, he did. He got away with all the shit that he did in Japan. He got away with all the shit that he did in Israel. But South Korea don't play like that. And, you know, third time's the charm, as they say. The case comes as authorities ramp up enforcement against livestream creators, with several high-profile figures facing major legal fallouts over on-camera antics. Yeah, because, you know, right now, in 2026, it's kind of the trend to, if you're an IRL streamer, just go out and commit crimes. Like, we've seen it with so many of these dumbass IRL streamers in the United States and in Europe and stuff like that. You know, people stealing from Walmart, people jumping onto the train without paying the fee. And in the case of Johnny, you know, making fucking deep fakes and, like, really just tarnishing an incredibly important and sombering cultural landmark and historical piece that the country takes incredibly seriously, as any country should. So yeah, I'm glad to see that at least in South Korea now that there is a zero tolerance policy for that kind of stuff. And in all honesty, every country should do this, because you know what? We're going to start seeing more and more of these IRL live streamers doing all sorts of things and thinking they can get away with it because they have a little bit of clout and they have these followers that will have their back, quote unquote. Like, God, can you imagine if, like, the US starts doing this kind of stuff? Like, they actually start taking IRL streamers more seriously than they have and actually start cracking down on people who do this kind of stuff. The entire IRL scene would just disappear at that point. Vitaly, for instance, spent nearly 300 days detained in the Philippines. Vitaly, by the way, Vitaly ZDTV, I believe his name was. OG YouTuber, turned out to be like a bit of a crackhead and then did some dumb shit. Spent nearly 300 days detained in the Philippines after a string of incidents, including harassing locals, theft, making inappropriate advances towards a security guard, and attempting to grab the guard's weapon. He was later deported to Russia. Meanwhile, Jack Doherty, another brain-dead IRL streamer, is reportedly facing up to 7 years in prison after a controversial stream resulted in charges of resisting arrest and possession of a controlled substance while filming content. So yeah, as you can see, in this current state right now, in the current live streaming landscape, you have these absolute shitheads who are ruining it for everybody. And, you know, this is not me coming onto camera saying that, oh, if you're an IRL streamer, you're automatically a piece of shit, because that is most certainly not the case. I personally know a lot of IRL streamers who do it for a living, who do it in the correct way, in the way that is respecting the culture, is respecting the people around them. If they don't want somebody to film something, then they don't film it. They put the camera down. Like, there is an etiquette to this that needs to be abided by, like anything you do in life. And yet, for some reason, some of these IRL live streamers think that, oh, all of that is out the window for them because they've got an audience and they've got clout and they'll just do it for the content. Like, clout really is the scariest hidden monster in the whole content creator sphere. Like, clout can, yes, turn someone's life around in a positive way, get them lots of money, get them lots of attention, but at the same time, it eats away at the humanity side of things. It eats away at them morally. It eats away at just thinking that they are on a different plane of existence from your everyday man because they've got a camera and an audience with them. Like, it's genuinely scary, and as someone who has been in this game for over a decade now, I have seen clout turn really good people into really shitty people, and it's a bit of a shame, honestly. Like, I've always made sure to be fully aware of that and try not to let that get to my head. You know, obviously, I'm not the same person as I was 10 years ago, but, you know, I'm trying. I like to think that I'm still, you know, the same Joey that I was before I started this whole thing, and, you know, just want to make content for the sake of making content. But hey, you know, that's just my perspective. Obviously, some people who don't like me may not agree with that sentiment, and that's cool. But I am well aware to know that I have never committed any crimes on camera because I'm not that stupid. I don't absolutely disregard cultural differences because I didn't know. Like, I make sure I'm educated in that shit, but unfortunately, again, some dumbasses get a hold of a camera and think that they're better than everybody else and then end up in prison, like Johnny is about to be in. So yeah, I wish I had like a party popper or something to fucking let off here as in celebration that we have gotten rid of a nuisance-filled IRL streamer once and for all. I really hope that the labor that is mentioned in this like prison encampment with a specialized labor prison that South Korea has really makes this guy work to the fucking bone. So much so that he'll never even think about doing anything like that. In fact, maybe it'll get to the point where he won't even consider continuing his live streaming career after he comes out of prison. Because there is a part of me that is a little bit afraid that 3 years will not be enough for him to learn his lesson, and that once those 3 years are done, he comes back to Earth in 2029, that he'll be dumb enough and powerful enough to think that he'll be able to do everything all over again and get away with it, which I am praying from the bottom of my heart doesn't happen, and that this is the last time I'll ever have to mention this fucker on a video ever again. So yeah, good riddance, happy days, you know, finally some good news in the world after all of the terrible shit that's been happening so far this year in 2026. So let me know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comments below. Do you think his sentence should be lighter? Should it be heavier? What should the consequences be for IRL streamers who do dumb, illegal shit? I'd love to know all your thoughts down in the comments below. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smack my face right here, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep making big channel number go bigger. Over here next to my head is a couple more videos you can check out if you enjoy this one, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.